Meanwhile, if you burn an American flag, no problem at all.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, I'm for that, but yeah.
You're for them arresting people for burning flags?
No. I'm fine with people burning flags if they feel like it. I mean, yeah.
I don't think you should arrest people for burning a flag. Like I don't think you should arrest people for burning a piece of paper.
Right.
Like you should be able to burn. If you want to burn something in protest, it's not like we can't make more flags.
Right.
Like what are you doing?
Yeah, we got plenty.
If you want to buy a flag and burn it, okay.
Yeah.
That's your big thing?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think we should make flags out of asbestos. solve all the problems.
That would make for a lot of unphotogenic protests, but that would be funny.
Like they're what the fuck? I'm just astounded by the lack of ability to see the future. The lack of ability to see where all this goes. That like in letting this happen, in not being outraged, in letting the government creep into all aspects of your life in this way. There's no net positive. In the end, it's just government control of speech and thought and content and everything you do.
Right, and complete capture of the media and all of that, and that's kind of what we're trying to fight against. And it's the one heartening thing is that the quote unquote mainstream press is now really it's in free fall now, right? Its influence is more and more limited every day. The problem is that something needs to step up in its place, but they're just they don't have any authority at all outside their own little bubble anymore.
Propaganda is a scary thing, and when you have mainstream news organizations going along with what appears to be propaganda with no pushback at all, like where's journalism? Like journalism is such an important part of any sort of functioning culture where people need to find out what is the real information. And there's people that have a responsibility to try to find that information and then give it to people so they can make informed decisions. And they can know what is the workings behind the machine. What's the wiring? What's happening? How are these decisions getting made? When the corporate media doesn't do that anymore, we're fucked. And you, in your time, have seen that. You've seen this transition into like the media becoming an arm of propaganda as opposed to what it was in the 70s or what it was in the 60s, where it was the news. This is what's happening. This is what we've uncovered. This is our undercover investigation. These are our facts. Our informant has told us this. Now we know that. Nixon did this. Kennedy was aware of that. We know these things now because of real journalism.
Right.
And it seems like, for whatever reason, there's two branches going on with journalism. There's people like you and Barry Weiss and Glenn Greenwald and the Substack people that are like, hey, this is not what I fucking signed up for.
Right.
I'm here to do actual real journalism, and you people in these gigantic mainstream organizations are losing your fucking minds. You're crazy, and you're doing it for so many reasons, because Trump sucks, because you're pushing a woke agenda, because you want whatever the reason is. Like, you've decided to become a part of a propaganda machine, and it's not journalism anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You're ignoring really important stories that are inconvenient to the narrative that you feel like it's your obligation to push.
Yeah. Remember when Trump became president and he was making noise about not letting certain people have credentials to get into the White House?
Yeah.
And there was this big hue and cry like, oh my God, he's not going to let us into the White House. And my first reaction to that was, who fucking cares if you're not let into the White House? You have an adversarial relationship already. You're supposed to, with government, right? If they don't let you in, just report on it anyway. Like, it's not a big deal. But for the new generation of journalists who've come in, they imagine themselves, because they're socially the same people that they're reporting on. They hang out in the same circles. They go to the same parties. The idea of not being let behind the rope line is an atrocity to them. They don't understand it, and they see their role as helping explain the point of view of power. I mean, it's just what we were talking about with Brian Stelter before. Like my job here is to kind of sell this to the population.
Yes.
Whereas the old school journalists were not like that. Like they saw their role as, yeah, you know, we're patriotic, you know, like we love our country, and if it does the right thing, we'll report that. But if it fucks up, we got to report that too. Like, you know, our job is to ask difficult questions. And if we have difficult truths, we got to report those things. And so we're not really on your side. Like, we're not your friends, you know. You can hang out with us. We can hang out with you at a campaign stop. But there's supposed to be tension there. There's always supposed to be tension there. And what you see now is that there's no tension at all, right? Like, there's just this sort of seamless community of people who all think the same way. You know, whether it's, you know, Rachel Maddow or you know, Don Lemon or whoever it is, and, you know, some Biden administration official, like, they're all kind of on the same page. They see themselves as part of the same group. They see themselves as having the same mission. But the press has to have its own mission, or else it's not legitimate.
Well, I don't think they're journalists. I mean, they're
Right.
really just television propagandists. That's what they are, and they're working for these enormous corporations, and it benefits those corporations to have a narrative, and so you have a spokesperson for the narrative. They're not. There's no way Don Lemon is a journalist.
Right.
Like, there's no way Brian Stelter is a journalist. They're just not.
Right. But
They are the way, like, that insurance lady on those insurance commercials is a stand-up comic. You know what I mean? Like,
The
is
progressive
she?
lady.
Yeah, is she really a comedian? I guess she might make a few people laugh, like, maybe, you know. But if she comes to the green room of the comedy club, we're all going to look at her and go, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Like, this is, you know, it's not like Sarah Silverman showing up. She's
Right.
not really a comedian. That lady she's a paid spokesman for the insurance company that just happens to make you laugh.
Right.
Like, and what those people are is paid spokesmen for the narrative
Right.
that just happen to be saying what's happening in the world, but they're not journalists.
Right. Yeah, they're reading off, you know, a version of something, and then there's their idea of journalism is sort of digging up facts to defend whatever that is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And not looking at things objectively.
Not
It's
looking-
there's a very clear narrative, and you have to push that narrative.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and when it changes, you don't say a goddamn thing.